Okay, so in this video, what we're going to do is we're actually going to install a secondary operating system. What we're going to do is we're going to use something um, called Kali, which is a popular hacking tool. It's actually a full-blown version of Linux with a lot of common tools that hackers use. So in the first two videos, we truly exploited this machine. We got all of its passwords. We reset passwords. So the goal was to just kind of show the dangers of using bootable media and what a live CD is, basically a CD with an operating system on it that you can boot off of. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to install Kali. So I'm going to click on my CD and I'm going to connect to an ISO image on a data store. And right now I'm in the tools directory. I'm just going to go up one directory and I'm going to go inside the Linux directory. If you don't see that, you can keep on clicking this up arrow until it won't go any further. The root of the data store is the T ISO images. Then in there you should see an ethical hacking. I had to scroll down a little bit, but I see ethical hacking. That's our class. That's the tools directory. Now I'm going to go inside the Linux directory. And there's different versions, but I'm going to use this Kali Linux. And that's the newest version of what previously was called Backtrack. So I'm just going to install Kali. I'm just going to say OK. So I pop the disk in, and it's a bootable disk. So I'm going to just want to restart my machine again like I did previously. So I'm going to need to do that Control-Alt insert. And instead of logging in, I know I could click on student and log in, but I really want to boot into this Kali DVD. So I'm just going to do a restart. So I'm just going to click on that. And I see that I've got the Kali Live. If I hit my down arrow, I've got different options. Now, I really want this to be a Tiger box that has multiple operating systems. If I didn't want to, I could always just stick the DVD in and then boot off of that. I used to do that all the time. I'd, in my backpack, carry a little binder of all these different CDs, and if I needed a specific tool, I could pop that CD in and boot my computer up. What I do now is I'm using actual virtual machines for everything now, so I carry a little hard drive that's got pre-configured operating systems on it. That's just what I'm doing, but I like having the full installation. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a graphical install. I'm just going to hit enter here, and we're just going to install the Kali Linux. So I'm going to go with a lot of the defaults here. I'm going to select English. I'm going to go continue. United States, continue. American English. So it's going to scan for different hardware and different components that may be installed. Okay, so enter the host name for this computer. We could use anything we wanted for the host name. Yours may have come up blank. It may have come up with a specific host name in there. I'm just going to type in my first two initials, so I'm JW for Joe Wetzel, and I'm just going to put in my student ID. And then I'm going to do a dash, and I'm going to do a KL for Kali Linux. So that's just what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to continue. Domain, you can select a domain. I'm actually going to wipe the domain name out. I don't want any domain name in there. It may have come up with FETC, it may have come up blank. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to delete that domain name out. Technically, we do not need it for what we're using it for. So at this point, we need to come up with a root password. We need to, typically in the real world, come up with something strong. But what I'm going to do just because I want all of us to be on the same page, I'm going to use Tor, which is T-O-O-R, which is root spelled backwards. That's the default password that Linux installs will have. In the real world, I wouldn't be using this, but just so that way if you email me saying, hey, I can't log into Kali, this way I know that you use Tor, I use Tor. So it's T-O-O-R. That is just going to be root spelled backwards, and that hopefully will help you remember. So I'm just going to continue. And I'm going to select my time zone, which technically doesn't matter that much, but I'm just going to go central. I'm going to continue. Okay, so now it's going to detect our disks. This is more important because I don't want to blow away the Windows partition. We will be using the Windows later in the semester. So what I want to be doing is I want to use just the blank space. Now, right now it's giving me the largest contiguous free space, which means that it'll keep the existing Windows partition. Just in the blank spot, it'll install Kali, and then it'll give me that dual boot. That's what I want to do. So I'm just going to continue. And I'm just going to go with all-in-one partition. Technically, Linux has a better way of doing it where they've got a home partition user var. For us, for right now, just to get through this, we're just going to put all in one partition. It'll make it probably a little bit easier. So I'm just going to continue. And I'm going to say yes to save these changes. So basically it's going to create some, like a swap partition and some different partitions, but it definitely did keep our NTFS partition, which is the Windows 7 partition. So I'm just going to say yes and continue. So I'm just going to let this run. I will speed up the video so that way you don't have to sit here and watch this install. I'll come back when it's to the next question. Okay, at this screen it's asking us if we want to use Network Mirror, and we're just going to say no. It's going to continue. There'll be times that you think the installation is hanging. It's best to just wait. You'll know when it's complete. So here it's asking us if we want to use the grub bootloader, and we do. We're going to say yes. So as soon as the computer starts up, it's going to ask us which operating system we want to boot. Grub will be what we're going to be looking at. So I'm just going to say yes and go continue. So at this point, our computer has now been imaged and we have Kali installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this CD from the tray, which it looks like it automatically did that for us because I don't see that it's connected anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit my continue button. So the last screen that we're going to capture is going to be the screen showing the bootloader. The bootloader loads very quickly, so we're going to see the screen. Gives us about 10 seconds to select an operating system. If it takes us a long time to find like our arrow keys or click inside the window, it'll automatically boot into Kali. So we need to be aware of that so we can make sure that we position our hands so that way we can select the operating system quickly. So here's the grub. So I need to click my mouse inside this black window so focus is in there, and then I need to use the arrow keys. Once I move the arrow keys, the bootloader will automatically stop. If I missed it, or if for whatever reason I thought I was opening the Tiger box and I wanted to get into my window Vista, and I'm in my Kali, I'll need to reboot Kali and then get to this screen. But this is going to be our final screenshot that we're going to grab. So I need to get my cursor back because my cursor is currently stuck inside this black DOSy style window. So I'm going to do the Control and the Alt at the same time, and that freed my cursor. So now I can kind of move this window. So I'm clicking up by that Tiger box and just moving it a little bit. So that way I know that I can do, in this case I'm going to do my Alt print screen. And I'm going to go back into my Word. And I'm just going to paste that. So now I've got my bootloader so I can see each one of the screens. So I've got my 3 screenshots here, which actually completes the first part of the lab. So going through the lab, we're required to do 3 different screenshots. And then there's also a question at the bottom. So we need to summarize in a short paragraph the dangers of physical access. So throughout the videos I've been talking about the dangers of physical access. But what I want you to do is spend a little bit of time thinking about how could you prevent somebody from gaining access to your system. So I know that some places have used like epoxy inside the USB ports, and but basically, what can you do to protect your system? And then also, I wanted you to just think a little bit about some of the benefits of using these tools. I know that the tools are considered to be hacker tools, but I know that I've used them legitimately many a times. So neighbors will come over with their computer saying it's not working, and I just, I'm not home. I'll get home and it'll be 10 o'clock at night, and I'll want to quick take a look at their computer, and I don't know their username and password, so I can quickly get into their system just by resetting the administrative password by using like the NT boot tool. So there are legitimate purposes for the tools that we used in the lab. So anyways, hopefully you found project successful and fun. So thank you.